So I hate to get that wrong. I had a very good talk to Tao this morning
Did you?
about growing
Mark's got a something in place for them. DJ Master over there. Go.
Good morning. So here we are this morning. I've got another different catch up this time where I've got Erin with me, the commercial manager for Bowls New Zealand.
Thank you.
Who's having a chat with me this morning, and then after I'll also then give people an update on the New Zealand progress of players in the Australian Open being held around the greens of the Gold Coast, and then I'll have Kozak in here, the high performance manager of Bowls New Zealand, and we'll talk about the forthcoming Asia Pacific Games and what's on the program going forward with high performance. So, but Erin's the lady; she's the brains behind her and Mark Cameron, the CEO, the brains behind Bowls 3-5, which was such an absolutely outstanding success last year. And of course, Sky have picked it up again for this year. So, where's the venue this year, Erin? What's the...
This year we're going to be staying out at Newland Bowling Club. It was a good first go at it last year. The delivery of the event this year will be a little bit different. We'll keep some of that under wraps, but we're essentially going to lift, as Mark said and alluded to, bigger, better. We're incorporating a few more elements of digital and just a little bit showier and so on. But most of the competition itself is going to be what people did see last year. It is going to be played One Direction. We know we get a lot of comments why it can't play. You can't play at One Direction. You can't play at One Direction. But I've never ever been given a reason as to why we can't play at One Direction. So I'd like to know why. What it is that they want it like that. We're kind of structured in the venue, the location, how Sky can fit into the venue, what they can bring to it as well. And we don't want to, we just need to go with the basics to start with. Second year out of what's going to be another 2 years, we've got plenty of time to adjust it.
Well, Erin, let's face it, I know there's been some commentary about that, but the practicality and logistics of it, of playing the jack one way, especially when you're playing indoors, make absolutely no difference whatsoever.
No.
So anyone that's trying to be what I would call petty in their comments relevant to this are really sort of throwing the low score on the dartboard, because it's about what we bring to TV. And
it is.
My debate around that has always been, as bowlers for so long have screamed and yelled and kicked that we haven't had bowls on TV. Last year we had Sky with Bowls 3-5 on TV.
Yep.
Plus all the other live streaming that was done with the sport last year. But this year, though, to highlight the success of it, we've got a bigger and brighter coverage, haven't we, with Sky?
100%. So we've got 8 weeks of competition there, not 6. We have got 8 teams in the competition this year. We had 6 last year. We've got the winning team from Interclub, so Hinuera Bowling Club. They replaced the Wood End Jets.
The last bowl winners.
The last bowl winners. We've also now expanded with 2 new teams, and we're happy to announce that Elmwood Park are going to take one of those spots out of the Canterbury region, which is good because it shows that we have got a full, a representation of the South Island, not just the top and the bottom, but a fuller representation. You don't want to get into situations where it becomes a very Auckland heavy competition just because it's
certainly
in
not.
Auckland.
No, certainly not.
We still have one more team to announce. We'll do that later on in the week as well, but it should bring some very good competition to the event as well, and just shows that bowls is for everyone.
Well, the other nice thing about Elmwood Park, so Elmwood Park has been a very, was in days gone by, a very, very strong club in Christchurch, and of course was very adversely affected by the earthquake. In fact, they lost their plane services, and they've had to make some significant alterations at Elmwood. It's a lovely area in Christchurch and a park-like surroundings. It's a lovely, lovely spot there. and they're incorporating now other sports have come into the Elmwood Club, and it's very, very much a community club. And I'm sure, and knowing the people involved in Elmwood as well, like we saw last year, for example, with Point Chev, Stoke and Gore, that they'll get a good community support in behind them as well, which is so important, isn't it, the Bowls 3-5 concept?
It is. It's a club competition. We're not going for the best of the best of the best players. We are so lucky that we do get the likes of, current world champion Shannon McElroy playing in it. How that expands this year, we'll wait and see. But you can be watching the TV and say, I've played against that person in interclub or in club competition or at nationals, and there's no reason why that person couldn't get their club on board, get an interclub team in and be there themselves.
Well, I think what we saw last year, despite some, as was always going to be the case, first year, new event, new format, new everything else, there was always going to be some apathy, there was always going to be some criticism, but I think the positive reflection of that was the number of clubs and teams that actually played in the national interclub phase, isn't there?
About 200, I think.
I think it was just over 200 that we had, and it got all the way through to the national final stage at 9i, of course, of which Hinuera were the winners over Riverhead in that really last bowl final. And it was fantastic to have both of those teams in the final, and no disrespect to the other teams that were there as well. But to me, it highlighted the success of the concept, because they'd played through a regional, a provincial area, then a regional scenario. So there was a lot of club involvement right around the whole country, wasn't there? And I think it brought new participants into the sport.
Yep, and it also made people become a little bit challenged with their sport as well. So there are a number of different situations that they have to play to in Bowls 3-5, which they don't get in the traditional singles ends or your fours game. It's making them rethink their strategies, it's making them rethink their game, and if they can take some of what they've learnt in their Bowls 3-5 and play it in their regular game, then they're going to not be able to get distracted. They're going to bring in a different kind of strategy. They're going to be able to just play a different game to what they have, and it might give them the competition. It might bring back some competition to people who have been feeling a little bit regular.
Well, yes, and it's brought back as well a lot of competition that perhaps was lacking in some of the clubs and some of the regions. It's sort of reinvigorated. Wellington jumped right in behind it.
There was
a lot of activity, and it's also now pleasing to see that going into the 2019-2020 season, we know that there are going to be more events that clubs and centres have picked it up, that there are going to be events around the Bowls 3-5 concept, the shortened format, and with now going to TV. So we'll have about, a lot of hours of live TV.
It's a lot of hours. It's 3 nights a week. It's 2.5 hours each night, and it's 8 weeks long.
Well, that's the 24 hours at least of live TV.
Yeah, somewhat. You could sit there and say, well, why don't you make this just a televised weekend competition? Then it's only like one weekend that you get to watch it. We get bowls on TV for 8 weeks.
I think also, which is exceptionally important, and this is no disrespect again to other overseas events which are run, but to me the winner is that it's live.
Yes.
And the number of people that we know, whether people go to the local club or the hotel or whatever, and are watching it live, and then sure, it's packaged up again in other veins throughout Sky, but we know that it's actually live. It's a live sports event, and that's a key component, isn't it, to making it work?
100%. Yep. So you get people who do the channel switching in the week. They don't know what there is to watch. They flick onto the sport channels, and there's live sport. There's live sport that they might know people in the teams of, and then they sit there and they watch it a little bit more. The format of it being short and fast means that someone who's never looked at it before can pick it up quite quickly.
Absolutely, they can.
They don't have to wait for a full end to be completed, which might take a regular five minutes or so. They will pick up the game a lot quicker, which will keep them interested, which will make them want to see what happens next.